Lesson 5, we're going to look at solving inequalities using multiplication or division. There will be some similarities to what we did with solving equations. There will be a few differences as well. If you look at example 1, page 280, Gina's pot-bellied pig is on a diet. He can have no more than 18 ounces of pig food per day. How many scoops of pig food can Gina feed the pig without going over 18 ounces? Okay, and you'll notice here on the bag here that it's telling us it's 4 ounces per scoop. So what we're going to do here, we're going to make a variable here on this problem. The book probably should have defined that. So we're going to have S is going to represent the number of scoops of food. Since there's 4 ounces per scoop, one way we could write the inequality, we could have 4 ounces per scoop, so 4 times S, 4 ounces times however many scoops, has to be less than or equal to 18 because it's no more than 18 ounces altogether. When they solve the inequality then, just like we did on equations, trying to get the variable by itself, we'll do the opposite operation. This one they're multiplying, means we need to divide by 4. You divide by 4 and you get 4 5/10 or 4 1/2. So that means that the pot-bellied pig can't have more than 4 1/2 scoops of food per day. In order to graph that, if we were asked to graph that, then we would need to go halfway between 4 and 5. Since it's less than or equal to, we'll have a closed circle, and then numbers less than that would be going to the left. Technically, we can't have more than, we can't have a negative amount of food. So technically, we could stop at 0 there. You could have a closed circle at 0. We're not going to get into that technicality here at this point, though, so this is okay. So we look at the try it. They want us to solve this inequality. D over 7 is greater than 5. If we remember, the fraction bar means they are doing what? Dividing, which means we need to multiply. Good. So they're dividing by 7. We're going to multiply by 7 on both sides. And left side, that'll cancel. On the right side, when we multiply 15 times 7, should be 105. So D is greater than 105. If you graph that, 105 would be between 100 and 110. It would be an open circle going to the right. Good. The next thing we're going to do is look at what happens when we multiply or divide by a negative number. So I'm just going to start with the simple statement that we know is true. 5 is greater than 3. Okay? What I'm going to do with that inequality is I am going to multiply both sides of the inequality by -1. If I multiply both sides of the inequality by -1, I'm going to have -5 and -3. How does -5 relate to -3?
It's bigger than it by -2. Smaller, I mean.
Okay, smaller by 2. Okay? So -5 is actually less than -3. Okay, similar idea. Over here we have our statement, 5 is greater than 3. I'm going to take both of those and I'm going to divide them by -1. When I divide by -1, that's going to give me the same result as when I multiplied by -1. So we'll have -5 and -3, and again, -5 is less than -3. So what happened on both these problems, we multiplied both sides by a negative number, or we divided both sides by a negative number, and what happened is our inequality symbol changed directions. So this is going to be the difference between what we did with equations and what we're doing with inequalities. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality symbol changes direction. If it was greater than, it's going to be less than. If it was less than, it's going to be greater than. So look at example 2. Solve the inequality -3.4m is less than or equal to 17, then graph the solution. So on this problem, you can see what happened here. Variables being multiplied by -3 4/10, so they divided by -3 4/10. Notice when they divided, the inequality symbol changes directions, and that's something that we have to make sure we remember to do. Sometimes when I divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, I'll put a little star there or something just to remind myself I've got to switch that inequality sign around. When we work that out, then we get m then is greater than or equal to -5. And so that would be a closed circle and going to the right. So if we look at this on the try it part A, we're trying to get the x by itself. So over with the x, they are multiplying, means we need to divide. When we divide, we need to divide by a -19 2/10. And once again, when we divide that, that's going to change our inequality symbol. It was greater than, and it's going to change to less than. So -7 8/10 is less than x. If we're going to graph that on a number line, then we're actually going to want to probably switch that around and get the variable on the left side. So inequality symbol was opening towards the x, means the x is the bigger one, right? Yeah. It's still going to open towards the x when we switch it around. So x is greater than -7 8/10. If we were to graph that on a number line, graphing that on our number line here, -7 8/10, that would be between -7 and -8, close to -8. We'll have an open circle, and greater than would go to the right. So open circle going to the right when we graph that one. If we look at example 3, they want us to solve this inequality. R divided by -2 25/100 is greater than or equal to 7. This one's being divided, so we need to multiply. Okay. When we're multiplying, we're actually multiplying by a negative number. Multiplying by a negative number is going to switch that inequality sign around. So it was greater than or equal to, it's changing to less than or equal to. And then when we graph that, that's going to be a closed circle and going to the left. So similar idea. If we look at the try it, we could look at either one of these. I'm just going to mention on this on part B if we were doing a problem like this. So we could say they're multiplying by -5/4, so we need to divide by -5/4. Okay? When we divide by -5/4, we're dividing by a negative, so our inequality symbol is going to switch around. It was greater than or equal to, now it's going to be less than or equal to. If we were dividing this by hand, the 25 we could put as 25 over 1 divided by negative 5/4. And then remember to divide fractions. What do? Keep change reciprocal. Good. Normally the negative sign, if you have one, goes up with the numerator. If you didn't switch it around there, that's not a big deal at all. And then you multiply, divide that out, and you get negative 20. So h is less than or equal to negative 20. And then we could graph that. The graphing part you guys looked at in the last lesson, that would just be a closed circle and going to the left. Closed circle at negative 20 going to the left if you graph that. Number 5, Vanna is saving for a trip. The hotel room will be $298.17 for 3 nights, and there will be additional fees. What is her daily cost? So daily cost, it does say write an inequality for the situation. Okay. The deal is there will be additional fees. That's going to be kind of our clue about what's going to be happening here. So our inequality, different ways we could do that. If C is the cost to stay 1 night at the hotel, we're just staying 3 nights. So we have 3 times the cost for 1 night is greater than $298.17. Greater than because there's additional fees. Means it's going to cost more than that altogether. And then part B, solving that inequality. To solve the inequality, we would need to do what? Divide by?
Yeah, divide by 3.
Okay, good. They're multiplying by 3, divide by 3. Is that going to change our symbol around or not?
Yes. Well, no, because there's no negative.
Okay, right. We didn't divide by a negative, so it's going to stay the same direction. And so when you solve that, C is greater than 99.39, so the daily cost is more than $99.39.